Welcome back to episode 27, where we are talking about becoming fasted.
For our third attempt, we have re-recorded this intro like 4 times.
Yeah, it feels like we're on episode 127.
Yeah, for some reason, after the clock passes 3 o'clock, we both lose all our brain cells, and it becomes very hard to hold conversations with each other.
Yeah. So recording a podcast is not a good idea when it gets dark outside.
Yeah.
But anyways, we are actually ahead of schedule in recording this podcast, so that's a good thing.
Are we?
Well, based on how it's been going lately, as far as how long...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I gotta turn off my computer. It's making noises. Okay, so before we jump into becoming fasted, how was your weekend?
It was good. Yeah, it was kind of just a chill, relaxing weekend. I had lunch with my old roommate on Friday, I think that was. That was really nice to get to catch up with her. It's so funny. We literally live in the same town and don't see each other, like, ever. And so it's really nice when we get to carve out some time for something like a lunch.
It's nice that you have such job flexibility, too.
It is nice that I have job flexibility where I can go do lunches in the middle of the day, yeah. Well, then that doesn't make sense because she doesn't, so maybe it wasn't a Friday. It was Sunday. Never mind, that was on Sunday. But nevertheless, it was really nice to get to catch up with her. Saturday, we had a family game night, and that was really fun. We played euchre.
I won most of the games.
Yep, she did, and she's not going to let us forget that. Euchre is a card game that mainly old people play, but we were taught very young, and so it's
so not true.
Family staple.
We probably
Yes, it is.
We probably just lost half our listenership with that comment. It
Why?
is not for old people. Not
Nobody my age plays euchre. I've met
you and Griffin both play it?
I've met like 3 people outside of our family that my age that knows how to play euchre. So
Oh, you could be a trendsetter.
yeah, I love it. I'm not saying that it's a bad game. I'm just saying that probably nobody my age knows what that is, so I was explaining. It's a card game, a strategy card game for old people.
I couldn't even tell you what it's like. I know my husband would be so ashamed of me. I think it's like Hearts or 500.
Any card game that you play with Trump. I don't know.
You're going to say with the deck of cards.
No, with Trump. But like even people my age probably have no idea what Trump is. So like all of those card games are for old people.
God, not true.
Okay.
Well, if you are looking for a super fun game, you can play it with 4
Super
or
fun.
5.
Or 6.
No, you can't play it with 6.
You can't?
No, it's only 4 or 5-handed.
Oh, okay.
You can get the app on your phone, and that is such a great way to learn. It's been a long time since I've played that, but you can actually play
It's
with...
not as fun because, well, okay, no, it is good for when you're starting out and you don't know how to play because it, like, suggests which cards to play.
Yeah.
So if you actually know how to play, you're not going to think the app is fun because it literally tells you.
You could probably turn that off. That's probably just an option.
Well, it's good for beginners, but...
We have such a fun group of friends that love to play euchre, and we've played with them for years, that during the pandemic, we played over Zoom. It was so fun.
Yeah.
It was such a nice way to still connect. But yeah, euchre is a great game that I highly recommend you young people picking up and trying.
It's just, I think that people my age don't have the attention span anymore to want to learn a game like that. Like, it takes a lot longer to learn euchre than I think anything else, so that's why it's not appealing. Like, it would not be appealing to me now to try and learn euchre because all games are...
Well, if you're going to come into the Plush Court household, it's a
Right.
must. We teach pretty much every
Right.
visitor
Yeah.
how to play.
Yeah.
What about cribbage? You and Griffin, I know
Yeah.
Griffin played cribbage a couple times this weekend.
Yeah, I think cribbage is a little more common for people. I think guys. I don't know a lot of girls my age that play cribbage. But yeah, I love cribbage. I'm not very good at it, but I'm not very good at mental math, so that's probably the issue.
Yeah. And Griffin is.
Yeah.
He's got a strong math mind.
Yeah.
There's another game that we started playing. It's called Liar's Dice. Did you play that with us?
Yeah, I did not like it.
You have to have a strong math mind. It's
Yeah, well-
very strategy oriented, which is not my strong suit. Strategy, yes. Math, no. But Griffin was just like ripping through, like he would get it so quickly.
Yeah.
So it's fun to watch him.
I was always in the lowest math club for school.
Me too. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we played games on Saturday. Apart from that, there wasn't a whole lot going on. We've been binging Ted Lasso.
Oh my God.
The show we talked about a couple episodes ago.
Okay, these are our big takeaways from this podcast. Learn how to play euchre and watch Ted Lasso.
Yeah, if you haven't already, Ted Lasso is such a good show. It's so good. I just texted my aunt earlier today checking to see if she started it yet because we recommended it to her. And it's about a soccer club, and she used to be, she played soccer and coached soccer for a long time. And so we're like, oh my God, you would love this show. It's so, and you don't even have to really know soccer to love the show. So yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, the humor. Takes place in
I don't know.
the UK.
We need to figure that out.
Somewhere in the UK.
Yeah.
And so you really either have to have your captions on or your volume up, because I have a hard time understanding. It sounds like they're mumbling a lot, but when you do make out what they're saying, it's hilarious. So I think it's one of those shows that you could watch multiple times and catch things a second time through.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's only 3 seasons. I'm going to be so sad when we're done watching it because it's just one of those feel-good shows.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah. Yeah, if you watch Love Island, the UK, or even Australia, I think they're really hard to understand, but it's the same thing. You have to have the captions on or you don't know what they're saying.
Yeah. And I should know the name of the actor's name. The actor's name who plays Ted Lasso. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know it.
He showed up in my Facebook feed multiple times.
That.
I think he might have a kid who plays at KU.
Maybe.
He was in like a KU sweatshirt having his picture taken with people that I know. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool.
All right. So you want to talk about...
Oh, we almost forgot the best part of our whole week. How Dad ended the weekend for us.
So a lot of you know that Bryce is kind of the...
head chef.
Yeah, cook in charge here at the house. And apparently he has kind of...
Well, and we are horrible cooks and don't know how to make anything. So there's that too.
Yeah. And so I don't know what actually prompted this, but he decided that we are each going to take a turn making a meal. And that was fine. His motivation was to use up a lot of the food that we have in the freezer and in the pantry. He gets a little irritated with me because he thinks that I buy more and more without knowing what it is that we actually need. And then we have duplicates and triples of things. And so nobody can go to Costco. Nobody can go anywhere, actually. He does not want any groceries coming into this house until we have started to eliminate what we've already gotten. He asked us to participate in this little challenge where we each take a meal, but then he just started layering on all the rules. And then he started texting our family,
Our group chat,
all the rules. And of course he sends these rules at the most inappropriate times. I'm in the middle of a coaching call or I'm trying to concentrate on something and it's like ding, ding, ding. Right? And it's like, here's another layered on complicated rule that you must abide by. I seriously was about ready to poke my eyes out. I was so annoyed. And then you text and you're like, what is up with all these rules? And I'm like, I know. I don't know. And then I knew, though, he would be...
like, there has to be protein, a side of veggies.
It has to be something that everybody likes.
Yeah.
Everybody has to be home. You
Not
can't go buy anything.
If not everybody likes your meal, you have to accommodate to each person who's like, I like fish. I like fish fillets. Griffin likes burgers. You can really make us anything, but make sure we like it.
I know. I'm like, okay.
I have a list of 3 meals that I know how to make. They're not fish fillet or burgers for that matter.
Yeah, it's called avocado toast.
Yeah. Yep. Salads from a bag. Like, we really can't be making it more complicated than that. And so I was just cracking up when we were getting all of these messages from my dad on the rules of our cooking challenge.
It was cute because it totally made me think of Grandma Audrey, Bryce's mom, who it was a phenomenal cook.
Yeah.
And she would make multiple meals. She raised 3 boys. I know 2 of the 3. I don't know if Brian is as picky of an eater as Bryce and Earl, but 2 of the 3 were picky eaters. And so she would make 3 different dinners. And so that is not like something uncalled for, out of the ordinary for Bryce. Not that he makes us, nobody is really that picky here.
No.
But yeah, that was definitely part of the rules.
We're just happy to eat whatever he'll make us.
I do not complain. And I wasn't going to complain about this little challenge until...
No, it was just funny.
It started to get a little out of hand with the standards that he had for us. But so far, so good. Luckily, I had just been to Let's Dish. So it worked out really good in my favor.
So we both cheated.
No. He just said that you couldn't go and buy anything. I had already bought it.
Yeah. Well, so we didn't really make our meals from scratch like we were supposed to. We had
There was still some cooking involved.
Okay, there was still some cooking involved, but we didn't really have to put anything together. It all came together from Let's Dish.
I had to follow instructions. It took me about a half an hour to put mine together. I was pretty pleased with how mine turned out.
Yeah, it was
Yours,
good.
On the other hand, did not turn out that good.
Yeah, it was not good.
But yes, Let's Dish is awesome. Mm-hmm. And so I will have those on hand if this challenge ever comes to light again.
Yeah, no kidding.
So anyways, we will be fasting here shortly. So we will not be eating as many meals.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
On fasting?
Yeah.
I love fasting. I fast pretty much every day. I remember when you first started fasting, and I didn't really notice like when you were doing like maybe 2 meals a day or even like 1 meal a day. But when you started to do like a whole day fast, I remember being like, you cannot go a whole day without eating, Mom. Like, that is not okay. Like, you should not be doing that. That's not healthy for you. Like, and I remember even feeling that way about myself. Not only should you not be doing it, I was like, I could never skip a meal. That is not healthy for me. And kind of feeding into all of the misconceptions about fasting. And so I think this is a good episode, especially I think people my age, it's probably not something they've ever considered. And there's a lot more benefits than just losing weight when it comes to fasting.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is a good topic to talk about.
Yeah. And all of us here at the house have really incorporated it to some extent. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I think the longest fast, I don't think I got up to 72 hours, but we talk about basically the benefits fall off at that 72-hour mark. There really aren't as many benefits to fasting after that. I mean, that's a long flipping time.
Yeah. I think mine was like 32 or something.
Yeah. I know I got into the 40s, but
Yeah.
the mental clarity, it's almost like a euphoric state. It's really hard to explain, but you have such a strong, like, cognitive, I don't know, level when you're fasting. Everything is very clear, high energy. It's so high that it's almost hard to sleep. But it's obviously a great way to detox for people who are maybe coming off of heavy sugar or heavy carbs after the holidays. Fasting is a really great technique and something you might want to consider in an attempt to detox. Really give your digestive system a little bit of a break. Anyways, we can get into the benefits, but
some of the more common misconceptions I think of fasting is starvation, fasting leads to muscle loss, fasting is only for weight loss, or even fasting is dangerous. And I think, as a side note, there can be some truth to some of those.
I think there could be truth to all of those, to be honest.
But you have to know what you're doing. You have to be doing it intentionally. And you have to be doing it the right way in order to actually get the benefits.
Yeah, you have to decide. It really does go back to every single thing that we teach. You have to decide what it is that you want to achieve from this. So we're just getting ready to launch our Self-Made Mind and Body program, and it incorporates fasting. And some of the people that are going to go through the program they're at a different stage in life than the first time they went through the program. And they are more concerned about maintaining muscle and want to incorporate more protein. That's great. Knowing that on the front end so that you can make decisions about what it is that you're going to eat is a really smart approach. But just blindly following somebody else's approach and not really understanding what it is that you're trying to achieve probably won't end well. You have to understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And there are a lot of different types of fasts that yield different benefits. So intermittent fasting is probably the most common type of fasting, and that really just looks like maybe skipping breakfast or maybe delaying breakfast, which is kind of what you do.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So you're adding hours. So everybody fasts while they sleep. And intermittent fasting is nothing more than just extending the amount of hours to the time that you're sleeping. So either on the front end or the back end, right? Most people sleep for 8 hours. They're probably going 10 hours without eating. And so intermittent fasting is just really adding on a few more hours. I think up to 16 hours is still considered intermittent fasting. A lot of people love breakfast, and breakfast foods can be really healthy for you.
Like me, that is one of the only meals. That's one of the 3 meals I know how to make. So I still eat breakfast even though I don't eat it probably at the normal time as everyone else.
So just delaying your breakfast, if that's the way you want to think about it, if that's a helpful way to think about it, can be a really good choice for you. And most breakfast foods like eggs and bacon and I don't know, a lot of breakfast foods can have a nice amount of protein in it. And so it is a good choice for a lot of people. So I like to do that too. Just at the time that most people are eating lunch, I'm eating breakfast because I'm, for all practical purposes, skipping breakfast and intermittent fasting. And it really just gives my body a little bit more time to rest. You're giving your digestive system a break and you're tapping into the fat stores for energy. Once you have really used up the glycogen that's in your bloodstream as a source of energy, a lot of times glycogen comes from sugar or refined carbohydrates. Once you have depleted that, then your body is going to burn something else as a form of energy, and it will tap into your fat stores. So that's why people use fasting as a great tool for fat loss. And that's also what it is to be fat adapted, is when your body is using the stored body fat as a source of energy instead of sugar or refined carbs or glycogen.
Yeah, those come, and that comes too with some of the more prolonged fasts. It's not the intermittent fasting as much. I think depending on like how often you're eating before you start intermittent fasting, that'll change how fast you lose weight and stuff like that. But it doesn't really start happening until you start doing those longer fasts, I would say.
Yeah. So you can start out by just eliminating something. That's a fast, right? So while you're sleeping, you have eliminated eating. Some people do just a sugar fast, or some people will do a meat fast, so it's just the elimination of something and for prolonged periods of time. And I don't think it needs to be thought of as something dramatic. Of course, anything can become dangerous, so you need to, I think, understand your body, understand your needs. I think it's a really good idea to run this past your doctor. I think it's an even better idea to have your labs drawn on the front end. I think fasting and becoming more insulin sensitive using fasting to become more insulin sensitive is a great idea for people, but there is a right way and a wrong way. You want to make these more incremental, compounded steps towards extending your fast, and not just, deciding that maybe you get your A1C levels checked and you find out that you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, and now you're going to go without eating for 24 or 48 hours.
Right.
That is not helpful.
Yeah.
Right? You need to start to ease your way into it. And by doing that, you're actually going to enjoy it. You're really going to be able to start to recognize kind of the subtle results and effects of fasting. Going from 0 to 60 is very difficult.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I just don't think that it doesn't make sense to do it that way. It's not healthy to do it that way. But I feel like the best part about doing or working your way up through fasts is learning what it is your body likes and what it is that your body benefits from. I think that was the biggest takeaway for me, was how much easier it was for me to tell the things that were fueling me and the things that weren't when I started fasting. And my energy and my mental clarity when I started fasting, it's so interesting to be able to watch your body make those adjustments with you. And again, that's why it's so much better to take it like in steps, because then you can enjoy the whole process and you can actually see the subtle results as they're happening.
Yeah.
Another point to that is we see this most with men, and like with Griffin. Griffin started fasting not that long ago to lose weight, and men lose weight so much faster than women. It's just the way their body composition works. They always lose weight so much faster than women. It's really unfair. It's like women sniff a cookie and gain 5 pounds and men sneeze and lose it. I don't really know, but
Sniff a cookie.
yeah, get a waft. But really, that's how it feels when you watch men lose weight when they start to do stuff like this.
I actually have the stats on that. And so they will lose on average a half a pound of body fat per 24 hours of fasting, where it'll take a woman, I think it's on average 36 hours of fasting to lose a half a pound of body fat. And it does eventually over time. So let's say 6 weeks into it.
Yeah.
That starts to average out where
Yeah.
men and women are losing at the same rate. But on the front end, men lose it a lot faster. And
Yeah.
Griffin thinks about fasting and he drops weight like that. And he
Right.
keeps it off too.
Right. But that was something good to note and to watch because it does happen really quickly for some people, some women too. And so you need to be aware because there is an issue when you're losing more than 10 pounds in a week.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And it can just, it sneaks up on you. It can happen really fast when you're doing more prolonged fasts. So that is also another thing to be aware of. But if you are taking it in steps, it's not something that you should really be concerned about because you'll know if you're gradually making your way up to those fasts, those longer fasts. It'll be a lot easier for you to tell how quickly you are, your body becoming fat adapted.
Right. And obviously, losing 10 pounds in a week, you're losing a lot of water weight.
Yeah.
Especially when you're low carbs. You are flushing your system of water. So it is so very important that you stay hydrated and that you add electrolytes into your water. We love LMNT.
LMNT. No,
Yeah. NT.
It is NT? Okay,
Yep. Yep. They have all different flavors. It's sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And it's very salty. It's awesome. I love
really
it.
Good. It's a good alternative for people that like liquid IVs. It's a great alternative to that if you like
there's
liquid
no
IVs.
sugar
Because
in
there's no
LMNT.
sugar, yeah. So,
And I will say, just a shout out to Element. They do such a fantastic job of researching and putting the research out there for so go to their website. They have so many white papers on the benefits of sodium. Sodium gets a bad rap, or salt gets a bad rap sometimes, and how important it actually is for our diet. I do think that you can go overboard. I notice it if I have 2 packets in a day and I'm not really doing anything.
a lot.
If I'm just sitting behind my computer and not really sweating or even
that's
fasting,
a lot.
I start to feel a little almost crampy. Almost, I feel the same way that I feel when I am fasting and I'm a little bit more dehydrated. It really helps with like leg cramps, restless leg syndrome, which a lot of people get that when they're fasting. So yeah, you can overdo it. It's just like anything else. So, but for the people who are working out heavily, I'm pretty sure Element recommends 2 packets a day, but those are for athletes, not people who sit behind their computer all day.
Yeah. Yeah, another good note here is make sure you do your own research on the outside of this, especially if you are somebody that is sensitive to things. You definitely want to be don't just go start taking 2 packs a day, even if you are super athletic and moving around. Like, make sure you take what feels good to you from this podcast, but don't just take our word for everything. We know what feels good for us, and so that's what we're sharing, but make sure that you are checking in with yourself and maybe your doctor about the things that are good for you.
Yes, definitely. Because based on your age, for women, where they're at in their cycle, fasting, there are best practices to it, and those topics should be discussed with your doctor. So that's one component. Fasting is one component of the protocols that we teach our clients how to create. So a protocol is literally a decision ahead of time about what it is that you're going to eat and when. So that would then, of course, include how long you're going to fast. And so we suggest people subscribe to a low carb diet, which when we say carbs, we're talking about refined carbs, not vegetables. You can include fruits, but really be mindful of which fruits you want to be choosing more of the fruits that are lower in the glycemic index, which include primarily berries. But what we're asking people to eliminate or at least limit is refined carbohydrates, the sugar and the flour, the white stuff, the pastas, things like that. Because ultimately that turns to sugar. Your body metabolizes that and it turns to sugar. And that's what you will burn as a source of energy. And the more you eat that, the more that is readily available as the source of energy, and you will not tap into fat stores to actually lose weight. There is a science behind all of this if you're doing this to lose weight. A lot of people will do fasting for reasons of cellular cleanout. Autophagy is just that. It's a cellular cleanout. So it's just getting rid of the old mutated cells that potentially could turn into chronic illnesses and diseases. By fasting, you go through that state of autophagy. So autophagy being a cellular cleanout, it is happening throughout your entire body. And the proteins that are associated with Alzheimer's, those are cleaned out through autophagy. So, you know, Alzheimer's has been called the type 3 diabetes because there is such a strong connection to sugar and insulin. So if you're somebody who is worried about your risk of Alzheimer's and other chronic illness and disease, fasting might be something that you want to start incorporating. And again, you don't have to go to the extremes. Start with just some intermittent fasting and maybe start to work your way up and see how your body reacts to that.
Yeah. You don't want to go to the extremes right off the bat.
No.
And that's the other thing too, is it sounds really scary and impossible to a lot of people. I know it did for me when you started doing it. And then when I considered starting to fast, I know that my initial thought was like, that is impossible. I could never go that long fasting. But you get to a point where you are looking forward to your longer fasts.
It's so much easier. Fasting is the act of not doing something. So it doesn't get much easier than not having to do something and not having to spend time worrying about what it is that you're going to eat, worrying about the prep, actually taking the time to eat, the cleanup, right? It makes life a lot easier. And so one of the jokes while we were, I don't know, this was probably a year ago when we went through the program at one point, one of the gals was talking about how she totally looked forward to her days, her fasting days, because she was so much more productive. You get all this time back, not to mention you have higher cognitive abilities, the mental clarity is on point, and your energy levels are higher. So it's just the stars become aligned for a really productive day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hopefully we've given you something to think about in the context of fasting, why you would want to consider it, why you might want to try it, what the misconceptions are. Yes, if you aren't doing it the right way, if you're not doing it for the right reasons, if you haven't done your research, it could be dangerous. So
yeah, and we definitely don't recommend it if that is the case.
Yeah. And if you want to learn more about building out protocols that incorporate fasting at different levels, I think we go up to 48 hours, 42 or 48 hours in our Self-Made Mind and Body program. So all we do is we add 2 hours to every week. So we have a 10-week program. We start by just eliminating sugar, flour, and alcohol for the 10 weeks. And the reason why we eliminate the alcohol, even if it doesn't have sugar, is because we want your liver to really be solely focused on detoxing, and we want it to be not having to filter out toxins, right? We're doing everything to set your body up for success for weight loss and metabolic flexibility. So that's where you start. And then from there, week 2, we start adding on the hours. But we only do 2 hours a week, so it's very manageable. And with that being said, if that's not something that you want to participate in, you don't have to. If you actually just took what you were eating on the regular and condensed it into a eating window, and you didn't snack throughout the day, you didn't have 5 meals sporadically throughout the day, and you condensed it all into a smaller eating window, that too is considered fasting. You don't have to change the quantity of the food that you're eating, and you'd lose weight.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating, but we take you through, kind of hand hold you through building out the protocols that incorporates fasting at different intervals, as well as finding the foods that fuel you. And that does look different for everybody. We have people that go through the program that are vegan, lactose intolerant.
The other thing, we even had clients that came in and said, I'm ready for it, but I'm not giving up alcohol. And they still were able to lose weight.
Yep.
But to be honest, they
It's
got
slower.
to a point, it's slower, and then they got to a point where they didn't even really want to drink anymore because they were liking the progress they were having and realizing how much slower it was compared to others who probably were not drinking.
Right.
And so...
Yeah. And that's totally fine.
Yeah.
If you get to make those decisions, it's your protocol.
Yeah.
And just you have to educate yourself on what are the consequences of the decisions that you're making. If you decide that you don't want to give up alcohol, that's totally fine. It's just going to be a slower process of weight loss.
Right.
Anything else you want to talk about becoming fasted? So our program, our Masterclass, which is totally free, is December 29th at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, which is a Friday. So we will share with you what Self-Made Mind and Body looks like. That's our 10-week program. And so we'll just give you the highlights in the Masterclass, but we will actually get you started the basics so that you could get a springboard into Self-Made Mind and Body. You'll learn enough to be dangerous for sure, like really get a good start, but we would welcome you into Self-Made Mind and Body. We'll have a fairly large class going through this all at the same time. It's tons of fun. We have men, women, we have people of all ages, all...
You'd get to see us once a week, live.
Yep. Yeah, so we have, our website has countless recipes. The program actually has lots and lots of recipes. Actually, somebody was in there today and she texted me and she's, oh my God, these recipes look so good. I'm like, I know, they are awesome. And they're all ketogenic recipes. So yeah, it's a fun program. And there are little crutches, little hacks that we give you. Heavy whipping cream is one of them. If you're a coffee lover and you can't imagine giving up sugar in your coffee, you'll have to try heavy whipping cream. It is yummy, yummy. All right, and that's, I could talk for days on this, but increasing your fat is another hack to being able to fast longer. So we'll just give you that too. You really want to increase your fat, good fat intake, because you're going to be satiated so much longer and you can fast. You'll find that fasting is so much easier. Also, eliminating sugar prior to a fast makes your fast so much easier. If you don't, if you've binged on sugar and then you decide you're going to fast, you will notice heavy, heavy cravings.
That's why after a night out, after you've been drinking quite a bit, you are so hungry and feel like a bottomless pit the next day because of all the sugar you consumed.
And carbs, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, reach out if you guys have any questions. We're happy to answer them for you.
We'll put links in the show notes.
Yeah. A couple good people to follow. Dr. Jason Fung. He wrote one of his latest books is Life in the Fasting Lane. He also he is a subject matter expert in diabetes. So he's got the diabetes code, I think. He's written quite a few books, but we use a lot of his information as supplementary resources to our program.
Yep.
All right. Well, we will see you next time. Bye-bye.